What's up, Focus fans, and welcome to episode 4 of the 2022 CrossFit Open Cooldown Show. In this episode, I'll be breaking down the leaderboards for the female open division here in Arkansas and bringing you a couple of video clips and an interview from our top 2 females in the state. For the second year in a row, Madie Edwards from CrossFit 540 topped our top podium position, and coming in second, but I mean just barely, was Lindsey Kirshman from Refine CrossFit. What's important to know is that this division saw the closest margin of victory across all divisions for the top spot, with just 4 total points separating Madie and Lindsey on the worldwide leaderboard, and allowed them to place 134th and 136th in the world and the open respectively. Sorry, these braces make me, sorry. That's a me problem, not a you problem. So both these ladies were able to earn their spot into the quarterfinals. I recently caught up with Lindsey, who just became a strength and conditioning coach at UCA, which is what actually brought her to Arkansas, during an event hosted at CrossFit Conway for the quarterfinals. And I asked her what she thought of what was the difference of intensity between this year's CrossFit Open and the quarterfinals, and what athletes need to do or to have in order to be successful.
Yeah, we were just talking about this today. I think the difference is how fast you can recover. So this is the difference between an elite level athlete and a novice athlete anyways, is like, number one, the skill level, right? Like some of these workouts, muscle ups, handstand push-ups, deficit handstand push-ups, rope climbs, those are skills. Like it's something that has to be honed over a long period of time. And even more than that, you have to be able to complete the skill when you're extremely fatigued, not only from today, but from yesterday and the day before. And so that's where it kind of separates people out. It's like, can you do the skill when you're fatigued? Can you recover quickly enough to do it again tomorrow?
Thanks, Lindsey, for taking a moment to speak with me. And it's clear that most of the top athletes, like yourself, believe that your ability to recover is key for multi-watt events like the quarterfinals and in-person competitions. Now, looking down the leaderboard just a little bit, it's cool to say that 5 of the top ladies in our state all earned a spot in the quarterfinals for being in the top 10%, and that included Alexis King from CrossFit Activate, Betta Clark from Rock City CrossFit, and Sophie Simon from CrossFit Reverence, as well as 17 other females from Arkansas, totaling 22 total females who made it to the open division cut line of 6,429. Now, let's turn to an interview I held with Madie Edwards a couple of days ago, our 2-time state champ. In this interview, we dive into what she thought about the Open and its shifting importance inside the competition season, how she prepared for the quarterfinals, and did she actually have like any fun along the way. Let's take a look. Cool. So welcome, Madie. Thanks for coming on and taking some time just to kind of learn more about you and your open finals. Kind of just tell us your name, where you're from, and what gym you're training at.
Cool. So Madie Edwards. I'm Bentonville, Arkansas, and currently I'm training at CrossFit 540 in Springdale, Arkansas.
That's amazing. There's a lot of good athletes that are coming out of 540, so you're in good company. Talk to me about your open experience. This year, we only had 37 working minutes for a lot of the athletes, and if you were really good, like someone like yourself who finished some of the workouts like 22.2 or 22.3, for those athletes it was even shorter. So kind of talk to me, what did you think about the Open this year?
So I think, and I go off this because of how they've kind of tailored the season, you know, where you go from the Open and then you move on to the next stage, quarterfinals, and then you move on to, if you go semis or whatever, so on after that. I think the Open is definitely nowadays, since it's not, in order to move on, you have to do super well in the Open, like it's all or nothing, because you can be the top 10%, which is a good chunk of athletes if you're, you know, pretty decent at CrossFit, you've been doing it for a while, or, you know, you have the basic skills. I think it's more tailored to normal people, you know, and just everyone in the gym, which I think is great, because the whole purpose of the Open in the beginning is, you know, community, bringing everyone together, Friday Night Lights, all the fun stuff. So that obviously is fun, but I didn't think any of the workouts were anything too crazy skill-wise. You know, the first workout was essentially just 15 minutes of a grind, right? Just back and forth. The wall walks, which we saw a load of last year, you know, there wasn't nearly as many this year. Obviously they came back, which everyone thought they would. And then the next workout, just burpees and deadlifts, just how much do you want to hurt and, hang on to the bar. And even the bar, which 225, 155, while it's heavy for some, that was considered the heavy workout of the open, which I don't think was heavy at all for people, a higher caliber athlete, which is fine because obviously you can push harder and make it hurt even worse, which it did. And then 22.3, dubs are usually a higher skill, but there wasn't that many of them. And then you go into I think it's first time pull-ups have ever really been in the open, just normal pull-ups. But the chest to bar and the bar muscle ups, it's not like there was a huge amount of reps of those. So compared to the year before where you had to do 30 bar muscle ups in the end, I think it was all across the board, all 3 open workouts were very doable for people. And even if you're someone who didn't have a bar muscle up, you still could do a huge amount of work before you even got there to attempt it, whereas in years before, they've had the 7-minute AMRAP of chest to bars and thrusters. So you might do 3 thrusters and stand under the bar trying to get your first chest bar, you know? So I think it's more tailored to everyone, more getting everyone involved and including more people, which I think is great. But then obviously you go to the next round, which I'm sure you're going to bring up soon, which the skills absolutely increased, which I think kind of is the separator there. So it's cool for most people, especially when you're when you consider the open is the highlight of most people's seasons. You have the chance to move on and have another part of your season, another competition in quarters. So I think it's cool that they do it that way. So for someone like me, who would be more of a competitive athlete, it definitely takes the strain off of the open because it's I did the workouts, I think Friday morning. I came in, did a little warm up, hit the workout, and that was just the first part of my training for the day. I didn't have to worry about repeating it unless something absolutely would have gone wrong with the camera or counting or, some issue like that. But it makes it more fun because then going to Friday Night Lights, I can come here and hang out with everyone and watch everyone else suffer through it like I already did. It just makes it more relaxing and thus making it a little bit more fun when there's not as much stress on it like it has been in the past. So
that's cool. Yeah. You actually answered a bunch of questions I was going to come up with, so thank you. Talk to me about what was the transition from the open into the quarters. Was there any change, or was it status quo as far as training goes?
So I think last year there was a couple more weeks in between. I liked that for individuals, you essentially only had 2 weeks, right? Like a full week, and then the next week was quarters. So it's kind of nice because you don't have to worry about maybe that, do I take some time off because I have 8 weeks? Do I, it's not the following week, so you're stressing about it already. So it was essentially I had a full week of normal training, which was kind of nice because during the open, I didn't have that because obviously Friday you're doing the open workouts. So it's kind of nice to have a full week of normal training. And then the next week, Monday, Tuesday were pretty much normal, just a little bit lighter volume. And then Wednesday, because competition starts Thursday, was a rest day. And then you just get back into it all over again. So I enjoyed it that it wasn't too much of a lag time between the two. In terms of the transition, as I said, the open was very catered to, most people, anyone can do it. Very basic movements. And then obviously in quarters that completely changed. You have a grind workout with wall balls and shuttle runs, a new movement, but that also includes rope climbs, which is definitely a skill. And then you have a workout that's GHDs, pistols, and ring muscle ups, which is all skills, So they had strict handstand push-ups, just a bunch of different movements in there that are higher level skills that it's either you have them or you don't. And if you do have them, can you do a bunch of them in a row under fatigue with interference of other movements? So I think that's definitely the separator. Even if you look at the strength piece, last year it was just back squats. This year you had, a clean and an overhead squat, which are already more skillful movements than just doing a 4-rep max back squat or front squat. So I think the tests were great tests of fitness. Some of them were very deceiving. You're that doesn't look too bad. And as we all know, those are the ones that end up being the absolute worst. I think a lot more people are going to be doing shuttle runs the next few months too. So yeah, it's cool to see that obviously as you progress through the season, the intensity and the skills increase as well. So that way you can kind of wean out the elites from, non-elites, I guess.
What it kind of looked like from the outside looking in was that, for the first time in open history, we didn't see a repeat workout. We did see
Yes,
some repeat movements, but something that was interesting was we saw similar movement patterns through 2 of the 3 workouts in the open, but
yeah,
and there was jumping in every single workout. And just like you said, within the open, while 225 or 155 is heavy for some people, it actually doesn't meet the definition of heavy per CrossFit headquarters. And
yeah.
their definition of heavy is something you can do up to 5 times with a moderate amount of rest in between reps. And so
Okay,
to do 100 reps in 10 minutes
Yep.
doesn't meet that definition.
No.
And so across the board, when talking with other athletes like yourself, it seems like the open is now a necessary, uh, requisite to get to the quarters. And now maybe the quarters, and if I was going to make an analogy, it's almost like, you know, the open is now almost like a scaled version of what the open used to be, and
Yeah.
now it's a movement. So, but there's definitely a delineation line, like a line of demarcation between like the people who make it to the quarters who are probably going to go on or very close to it, and there's those that just barely make it in, because we've seen in the open years past, like sometimes like a muscle up would come up as the first. I remember in 2012, a muscle up was the first movement of the entire CrossFit open workout, and there was no
Yeah.
scaled division that year. So people were
Okay.
like all up in arms, are like, I don't
Yeah.
even get 1 rep. And Dave Castro was like, get a muscle up, get a rep.
Yep. There you go.
And so everything's maybe we're just seeing a shift inside that. And
Yeah.
so when you did the quarters, did you actually have fun, or was it all business?
So there's a fine line between fun and not fun, especially when you're getting to this point. So like some workouts for me, like I loved I think it was workout 3, the shuttle run, wall ball, rope climb one, because that's just a grind. You're out of breath. It hurts. So I would define that as fun. But then if you're talking overall, like basics, like it's always fun because like leading up to it, they announced there was going to be rings and a GHD, right? So if you're kind of going off of interference movements, you're like, maybe ring muscle ups and GHD sit ups will be put together. So leading up to it, I was doing a lot of GHD sit ups with muscle ups just because they very much affect each other. But it's so different when you do it for, a purpose, like because you're trying to qualify to move on. So they hurt so much worse doing it this weekend than I did in any other training session, because you're just pushing the intensity that much more and you're working that much harder and trying to move that much faster. So for that reason, I think it's always fun because you get to really see, when you push yourself like to that close to 100 plus effort that you have, like how much better you do than just a normal training day, when it's like a Wednesday after coming off of 2 days, you're tired already. So I think it's fun that way, but at the end of the day, you are trying to move on and qualify. And when you add the extra stress of having a judge and having to set up a camera and tape the floor and make sure everything's fitting in the camera and setting, you have to show all that in the video, that always adds a little bit of stress. So I think once that's involved too, it's like, okay, now we have to get serious because this is when it matters. The open, yeah, you record everything, but it's like, I should do pretty well and move on, but this is like, okay, now you have to do well. So kind of like you said, this is how the open used to be, is now what quarterfinals are. So fun, but not fun. I guess it's all part of it, right?
So what's the next step? Are you going to take a little time off now that the quarters have finished up? I know you love doing in-person competitions. You've done strength and depth. You've done Wadapalooza. You've done a lot of these like high-level competitions. Is there something you're eyeing that you're trying to go for, or is it just?
Well, actually, not yet. I don't think. There's tons of, especially in this area, like NWA in this area, like kind of Midwest region. Like there's a lot of competitions, like smaller competitions. Like Alexis has already told me about 2 of them that she's doing. So I might do some smaller fun ones here and there, across the summer, just to, because it's a good check to see where you're at, right? Like I said, when you're against other people and you're pushing yourself a little bit more than you will in just a normal training session, you can really see like, okay, I need to work on this, or okay, we're doing well with this. So maybe for that reason. So I don't have my eyes on anything exactly yet. This week is very much a chill down week. Like I've taken the last couple of days and just done some light biking and running. So the rest of the week, I'll do the same. If I feel like coming in here, maybe I will, which I might tomorrow because I had a lot of pizza rolls last night, and I'm starting to feel like it's really going downhill the last few days. A lot
My
of Chick-fil-A.
12-year-old self is in love with you right now.
Pizza rolls and Chick-fil-A #1. So yeah, we might be getting in here. But yeah, this week's pretty chill, and then I guess just kind of get back in here. So I always love training, and I still love training. And obviously, the main reason I do CrossFit is because I love it, and I like to push myself and see what I'm capable of. So regardless of if I'm making the games or not, I'm doing this for me. So it's pretty much just get ready for whatever's next, whether that's in 2 months or whether that's the Open next year. I don't know at this point. Yeah, we'll just kind of see how it goes. Whatever
Oh,
comes
cool.
up,
That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking some time to chat with us today. Two-time state
Absolutely.
champion. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for chatting with me too.
Thanks again, Madie, for taking a little bit of time out of your day to speak with me. Since this interview, I've actually learned that Madie's going to team up with Adam Dykes, the Arkansas male state champion for Arkansas, for the Monster Games coming up in Missouri. So best of luck to you two. We know you're going to kill it and represent Arkansas well. I want to thank you for watching, and up next, I'll be breaking down the men's division leaderboard here in Arkansas and bring you an interview with Adam from Rock City CrossFit about his open and quarterfinal experience. So until then, I'll see you on the leaderboards.